Hi, I'm Morgan Bowling, and today I'm going to teach you how to butcher a pork loin. Buying a whole pork loin and breaking it down yourself can save you some money and give you the flexibility to create the exact cuts you want. We're starting with a whole bone-in loin. You can see this line of fat running the length of the loin. The meat underneath the fat line is a center cut, and the meat above the fat line is the blade end. These cuts cook differently, so you'll want to separate them. You can see there's a little bit of overlap, which is okay. Flip the roast so the bones face up, and find a gap in the bones to cut through using a sharp boning knife. Make sure you cut with long slicing motions rather than a sawing motion. You'll need to wiggle the knife around the small bones near the base of the rib bones to get around them. The blade end is cut from the shoulder of the pig and is where you'll find dark meat. It's juicy and flavorful, but it can be a little tough, so we recommend it for low, slow cooking like braising or smoking. First, I'm going to cut a blade chop. Once again, with the bones pointing up, I'll slice between the bones with a boning knife. This blade chop has dark meat around the edge and a center eye which is a bit leaner and more tender. The blade end can also make a nice roast. If you want a boneless blade roast, just remove the bones. To do this, stand the roast up on its side with the bones pointing up. Drag your knife alongside the curve of the bones. The blade end is not always even in shape, so we like to tie it to make it more uniform for cooking. Place kitchen twine underneath the roast at 1-inch intervals. Starting from the middle, loop the twine twice so it holds in place. Then tie a second and then a third knot. Working your way out, tie the rest of the roast. Then trim excess twine. You can see the roast is now a more uniform shape so it'll cook more evenly. Let's move on to the center cut. This meat is relatively lean and evenly shaped, so it's very versatile and can be cooked with a variety of methods. It makes a beautiful roast. But first, you'll want to trim the fat cap to about 1/4 inch. Position your knife at a slight angle and make shallow slices, removing a little bit of fat at a time. This is easier to do if the meat is cold. Save the fat. You can render it down and use it for cooking. Because, pork fat. The center cut gives you your standard pork chop. Just like we did with the blade end, I'll situate the roast so the bones are facing up and slice between the bones, working my knife around those little bones in the back. And now we have a bone-in rib chop. By the way, what's a pig's favorite karate move? A pork chop. Hi-ya! You can see the difference in the muscular structure between the blade chop and the rib chop. There are multiple muscles and more fat in each blade chop in comparison to the rib chop, which has one large eye of loin muscle. You can cook this as a bone-in center cut roast, or you can remove the bones. Steady the roast on your cutting board. Lean your knife against the bones and slice, little by little, to remove the bones. From here, you could roast this as a boneless center cut roast. You shouldn't need to tie it because it's already fairly uniform in shape. Or you can cut boneless chops, which are between 3/4 inch and 1 inch. There's no shame in using a ruler. If you're cutting multiple chops, this is the best way to ensure even cooking. Now that I don't have those bones to work around, I'm using my chef's knife, which makes it easier to make long, even slices through the meat. Breaking down your own pork loin will give you the flexibility to create whichever cuts you want. And wasn't that fun? Thanks for watching. Tell us what you thought of the how-to in the comments below and hit that subscribe button.